Hello, and welcome to what I hope to be a new series on my channel, Big Finish Fridays. It didn't feel right doing one-off reviews every now and again, or reviewing a whole series in one video, so I decided to do it every Friday. Why Friday? Well, it just sounds good, doesn't it? But anyway, enough rambling. Let's begin with our first adventure, and the first audio spin-off I listened to outside of the Time Lord Victorious, Davros, Innocence. It begins with Davros talking to a Dalek, who says that he's on trial. The story takes place just after Necros, so we can assume that this is a renegade. He questions what crimes he's on trial for, but the Dalek replies that he's not being charged, he's on trial. Then it clicks. It's not a courtroom he's in, it's a chance to rule the Daleks again. That's why he's on trial. Davros goes on a rant, and we're whisked back to his past. Skaro. Near the end of the 1,000-Year War, Davros is only a teenager at this time, but still as deadly as ever. We're greeted by a Khalid execution squad, who do their job, taking out a bunch of foul prisoners. This is where we're introduced to the character of Captain Brogan, who will be important later, and Davros' father, Colonel Nasgard. Brogan feels a little bit guilty for killing the Thals, but this is quickly shut down by the obviously ill Nasgard. We next meet Davros' mother, Lady Calcula, the biggest influence in his rise to power. His sister, Yarvel, who believes more in peace than endless warfare, and also Tashek, Nasgard's older sister and senior member of the military elite, although this is a fact that doesn't come up that much. Calcula talks with her boss, Quested, about spies, while Yarvel looks for Davros down at the lake, who surprises her by jumping out of the water. They discuss what she thinks are rocks, but are actually creatures that Davros wants to examine. We go back to Nasgard, who's been relieved of his duties. Brogan is now a major, which he's absolutely shocked by. Seemingly. It turns out that Brogan has been sending reports to Central Command to remove Nasgard from his position due to his very poor health and very rash decisions. Nasgard's originally quite angry, but he calms down a little and orders Brogan to shoot Nasgard instead of arranging transport home. Apparently this is a military honor that, if wished, must be carried out. Something that Brogan, rightly so, refuses to perform. We return to Davros, who is talking to his mother and Tashek. Calcula wants to get Davros a private tutor, something that he rejects, especially when he discovers it's from a man named Magrantine. Throughout this conversation we discover that Yarvel and Tashek seem to be against Calcula and Davros. Calcula shows little, if any, affection for Yarvel, whereas Tashek loves her niece. Nasgard and Brogan come in, and are immediately greeted by Tashek. Calcula notices that he's been discharged, and Davros asks if his father is dying, something Yarvel is rightly shocked by that he'd be so blunt about. Calcula gets into a debate with Brogan, saying that the war will be won by scientists, not soldiers or politicians. This foreshadows the rise of Davros. Now this is where Davros chooses to become a scientist, something his father is against, since it's apparently tradition that their family are soldiers, like most families in the Khalid race. Calcula and Nasgard get into a heated argument about how Nasgard is dying, and how Davros shouldn't be a scientist. This is where Nasgard reveals how Brogan refused to kill him. In the morning, Nasgard compliments Yarvel on her uniform, saying that it's a pity Davros doesn't want to be the same. Nasgard gives Yarvel his medals, and she leaves with Brogan. Calcula finds Davros outside, examining a dead bird, and they talk about the toxic chemicals that might be coming their way. Now we finally meet Magrantine, and he leaves with Davros for a guided tour of the area. We return to Nasgard and Tashek, who thinks he's going absolutely mad because he says he's hearing a constant noise. This is where it comes out that Nasgard has been ill long before Davros was born, and Tashek reveals that he's not actually his son. The poisons in his body meant that he couldn't father any more children, meaning that Davros is his illegitimate son. But then Tashek also begins to hear the noise, and it sounds a little bit like a beeping. They think maybe Calcula left a communicator on in the other room, but Tashek thinks it looks a little strange, while the beeping gets faster and faster. Then it comes out. Nasgard tells her it's not a communicator, and they're both engulfed in an explosion. Later Yarvel hears the news, and is obviously upset by this, and is comforted by Brogan, who tries to calm her feeling of revenge, revealing himself to be a peace activist. Calcula and Davros also hear about Nasgard's death, not thinking much of it, quite cold and callous as ever. Calcula puts on a persona of being sad, but obviously by her tone of voice doesn't care. She uses this as an excuse to get more protection for her and Davros. Oh, and Yarvel too. Davros talks to Magrantine about how intrigued he is by the mutated plants. This is where we begin to see more of his interest in genetic mutation, which evolves into his interest in radiation, and eventually his interest into the Dalek. So that's the first half of the story, about 40 minutes in length. In this one we meet Davros' family, setting up his and Calcula's arc for the rest of the series, and also shows us what Kala's society is like. This is only the beginning of his descent into utter madness, and his creation of the Daleks, of course. Even as a teenager we see signs of his interest in genetics, and ultimately evolution through genetic manipulation. Each character is brilliant, especially Calcula, who gets better and better as the series progresses. I like the parallel between Yarvel and Davros. The main reason why Davros turned out the way he did was because of his mother, someone who didn't show any love whatsoever to Yarvel. Overall, it's a brilliant start to the series, and I can't wait to review the other stories over the coming weeks. I'm mainly doing this so that I can work on other projects, but still release videos every week to keep the upload schedule up. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did making it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my YouTube channel down below. I'll leave any links in the description, and should do more of these videos soon, so stay on the lookout. Thanks for watching.